I ask you one last question. This was the last conversation you and I ever had. What would you want me to tell you? I've thought about that a lot while putting the season together. Because over the last several weeks, I've talked about heartbreak. We've talked about purpose. We've talked about redemption. We've talked about mentors. We've talked about feelings lost and discipline. And through every episode, one message kept showing up. Keep going. Not because life is easy, not because everything works out the way we plan, but because your story is still being written. I don't know where you are today. Maybe you're listening on your way to work. Maybe you're driving home after a long shift. Maybe it's late at night and you can't sleep. Or you're sitting alone wondering how much longer you can carry everything you've been carrying. Wherever you are, I'm grateful you're here. Because if you've made it this far, you've already proven something. You've survived every day. Every day that tried to break you. Think about it. Every disappointment, every heartbreak, every setback, every sleepless night, every moment you wondered if you'd make it. You're still here. That doesn't make you lucky. That makes you resilient. When I started this podcast, I didn't want to create another motivational show. There were plenty of those. I wanted to create a place where people could be honest, a place where it was okay to admit life is hard, a place where we could remind each other that strength isn't pretending everything is going to be okay. Strength is deciding to keep walking, even when the road gets difficult. That's what Through the Fire has always meant to me. Not avoiding hardship, growing because of it. I've learned something over the years. Fire changes everything that it touches. Sometimes it destroys, but sometimes it refines. Steel is forged in fire. Character is forged in fire. Faith is forged in fire. Hope is forged in fire. And people are too. I don't believe the hardest seasons of our lives have to define us. I believe they can develop us if we let them. Maybe today you're in one of those seasons. Maybe you're asking, why is this happening? I don't always have the answer to that question. But I do know this. You get to decide who you'll become because of it. That's a choice no hardship can take away. You can become bitter or you can become stronger. You can close your heart or you can allow it to grow with compassion. You can quit, or you can take one more step. Sometimes one more step is all it takes to change the direction of your life. As I look back over this entire season, I realize something. Every episode has really been about the same thing: hope. Not the kind of hope that ignores reality, the kind of hope that looks hardship in the eye and says, I'm still moving forward. Because that's real hope. And that's the kind of hope I want this community to be known for. Think about that. You know, when I think back to where we started, I can't help but smile. Not because life suddenly became easy, because I realized something. The strongest people I've ever met were never the people who had perfect lives. They were the people who refused to let hard times steal their heart. I've met firefighters who have seen things most people couldn't imagine. And they still found reasons to laugh. I've met people who've lost everything and somehow found the strength to rebuild. I've met parents who sacrificed every single day so their children could have opportunities they never had. Those people taught me something. Strength isn't loud. Most of the time, strength is quiet. It's the father who gets up before the sun because his family depends on it. It's the mother who keeps loving her children, even when she's just exhausted. It's the firefighter who answers another call after a sleepless night. It's the tow truck driver pulling over to help somebody stranded on the side of the road in the middle of the storm. It's the person battling anxiety who still chooses to walk out the front door. It's the person whose heart has been broken, but still chooses to love again. That's strength, not because it makes headlines, but because it happens every day. Over the course of this season, I've shared pieces of my own story. Walking into the fire station as a 13-year-old kid, learning from people who took the time to invest in me, becoming a lieutenant before I felt completely ready, living through seasons that didn't go the way I had planned. Starting this podcast because I believed there were people out there who needed to hear one simple message. Keep going. Not because I have every answer. I don't. Not because I've never struggled. I have. But because I've learned that no matter how dark the season, morning eventually comes. If there's one thing I hope you've taken away from these conversations, it's this. You don't have to be extraordinary to make a difference. You don't need millions of followers. You don't need the perfect career. You don't need anyone to know your name. You just need to leave people better than you found them. Imagine what our communities would look like if every one of us made that our mission. Encourage one person. Help one stranger. Forgive one mistake. Listen without interrupting. Choose patience instead of anger. Offer hope instead of criticism. Those things may seem small, but a small act of kindness can have a way of changing lives in ways we'll never fully understand. Sometimes people ask me what success means. The older I get, the simpler my answer becomes. Success isn't having the biggest house or the nicest truck or the highest title. Success is laying your head on the pillow at night knowing you lived with integrity, knowing you kept your word, knowing your family knows they're loved, knowing your friends know they can count on you every step of the way, and knowing that somewhere, someone's life is a little better because you were in it. If I can live that kind of a life, I'll consider myself successful every single day. And maybe that's what this whole journey has been about. Not becoming famous, not becoming perfect, not making money, becoming faithful. Faithful to your values, your purpose, faithful to the people who count on you, and faithful to the promises you've made to yourself, because those quiet acts of faithfulness become the foundation of an incredible life. If you're listening today and you've been wondering whether you have what it takes, let me answer that for you. Yes. Not because you're fearless, because you've already survived things you once thought would break you. You're stronger than you realize, kinder than you give yourself credit for, more capable than the voice in your head wants you to believe. Don't let that voice write your story. Write it yourself. One decision, one act of courage, one day at a time. And maybe one day you'll look back at this season of your life, the uncertainty, the heartbreak, the victories, the setbacks, and you'll smile because you'll realize every step mattered. Every lesson had a purpose. Every fire left you stronger than it found you. Before we end this season, there's one last thing I want to tell you. I don't know your name. I don't know your story. I don't know what you've been carrying, but I know this. The fact that you're here, the fact that you've stayed with me through this journey tells me something. It tells me something about you. It tells me you haven't given up. Maybe you've been knocked down or you've been disappointed. Maybe you've lost people you loved. Maybe you've watched dreams fall apart. Maybe you've questioned your purpose. Maybe you've spent nights wondering if tomorrow would be any different than today. If that's you, I want you to hear me. You are not finished. Your story is not over. You are still a good person. There are still friendships waiting to be built. There are still opportunities waiting for you to walk through the door. There are still mornings you'll wake up grateful you didn't quit. Hold on for those mornings. They're worth it. When I started through the fire, I made myself a promise. If these conversations could help one person feel a little less alone, then every hour spent writing, recording, and sharing would be worth it. I still believe that because I know what it feels like to carry things in silence. I know what it feels like to question yourself. I know what it feels like to wonder where life is taking me. And I also know what it feels like to get back up. That's what this season has been about. Not pretending the fire doesn't exist, but learning that you can walk through it. If you've listened to every episode, thank you. Thank you for giving me your time, your trust, your attention in a world that's always rushing. Those are gifts. I don't take them lightly. I hope these conversations have reminded you that strength isn't about never struggling. It's about refusing to stop. I hope they've reminded you that redemption is possible, that purpose is still waiting for you, that showing up matters, that mentors change lives, that uncertainty doesn't mean you're lost, and that hope is always worth holding on to. As we close out season 1, I want to ask one thing of you. Take what you've heard and pass it on. Encourage somebody. Call somebody you've been meaning to call, or forgive somebody. Apologize if you need to. Be patient with someone who's learning. Become the kind of person you once needed. If this season has helped you, don't keep it to yourself. Be the reason someone else keeps going. Because that's how this message grows, one life at a time. And if somebody, years from now, asks you what Through the Fire was about, I hope your answer is simple. It reminded me not to give up. If that's all this podcast ever accomplishes, I'll be grateful. So before I go, I want to leave you with the same words I've ended every episode with. Not because they're just a catchphrase. Because, if nobody told you today, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of the battles you've fought that nobody else knows about. I'm proud that you're still standing. I'm proud that you're still trying. And I'm proud that you chose hope over quitting. And more than anything, I'm glad you're still here. So whatever tomorrow brings, walk into it with courage. Walk into it with compassion and with integrity. Walk into it knowing that the hardest season won't last forever. And no matter what life puts in front of you, keep walking through the fire. I'm Colton. Thank you for spending this season with me. I'll see you in season 2. I just want to leave one more thing with you. Life isn't about avoiding the fire. It's about discovering who you become while walking through it. Thank you for being part of season 1. I'll see you in season 2. If nobody's told you today, I'm glad you're still here.